Great. Typically, as these things happen, someone's just about to turn a cement mixer on in my garden. So if there's any too much noise and you can hear it, let me know and we'll do something about that. But good morning, everybody. Go on.
Well, I was going to make a bad joke and say they say not to work with, children, animals, and cement mixers.
And cement mixers. I know, it's typical, isn't it, really? They're just about to turn it on. Who knows what's going to happen? Good morning, everyone. It's really nice to be here. It's the first time I have attended. My name is Emma, and I am the Communications Officer for what is now Unpaid Carers Support Southampton, previously known as Carers in Southampton. I've put a couple of slides together, albeit a bit haphazardly. I'm going to try and share my screen with you, if I've got permission to do so. Lovely, thank you.
Yep.
Lovely, can everyone see that okay?
Yep.
Perfect. Great, so we are Unpaid Carers Support Southampton. We've got a new fancy logo, possibly, since the last time you saw us, and we are a project that is commissioned by Southampton City Council, and we were awarded to Southampton Citizens Advice quite last minute at the end of March. I'm sorry if I'm going to be teaching some people to suck eggs this morning. There's probably a lot of information that you already know, but I thought it would probably be best to cover all bases. So we provide free services for adults providing unpaid care to someone with ill health or disability. There's a few facts about carers that not many people know within Southampton. So in the census 2021, 18,136 people, which is 7.7% in Southampton, said they provide some level of unpaid care. We also know that when one caring role ends, another begins. So we estimate that the reality is that there are 30,000 people living in Southampton with a caring role. Just over 12% of those over 50 living in Southampton provide care to a loved one, friend or neighbour. 52% of carers are actually employed. Most are trying to juggle work and their own personal commitments on top of their caring role. The largest proportion of carers within Southampton is between the ages of around 35 to 60. And over 70% of care provided by people giving care give over 20 hours of care a week. And those giving 20 hours worth of care a week are generally coming from people living in poverty or deprivation within the city. Oh, I've gone too fast. Hang on. How to spot a carer. So quite often people think they're only unpaid carers if they're caring for their partner or a family member. So not many carers know their carers themselves, which makes it even harder for people like you guys to be able to spot them. 32% of unpaid carers actually care for a friend or neighbour, so they're caring for somebody outside their home. They might be getting their shopping, helping them with paperwork, or driving them to appointments. So, this is absolutely considered caring, and we would absolutely want to hear about them at our service. Many carers also don't really understand where the line is between where the role in their relationship ends and where their role as a carer begins. So when do you stop just being neighbourly and become a carer? Many carers are also quite insulted by the label carer, especially in some cultures where there is no word or interpretation for unpaid carer, which, living in the diverse city that they do within Southampton, this is quite often the case. And for some, it's also just simply what they do and what generations have done before them, which is why we struggle to get carers to come forwards. And also, few two caring roles look the same. Doing someone's weekly shop is obviously very different to washing them and getting them dressed and fed. And not everyone recognises the former as caring, but it absolutely is. So that's who a carer is. That's just a few facts around carers. But as a service, what do we provide? So we provide lots of different things, but I've managed to sort of tug it down to about 6. Firstly, and predominantly, we provide carers assessments, and that evaluates the need for support and services based on the care that's being provided and how it's affecting the carer. And the result of a carer's assessment measures eligibility for a monthly personal wellbeing payment. Payments that we award to carers are anything from £17 to £42 a month. In order to meet the criteria for an assessment by us, the carer must be an adult providing care and support to an adult who is over 18 and who is living in the local area. The personal wellbeing payments are non-means tested, and for the carer to spend on themselves, like a gym membership or dinner out or something like that. So if they're on benefits, that has nothing to do with it. We don't care what their income is. It's purely just a personal award that acknowledges their role, really. So that's carers assessments. We also offer carers cards, and they identify carers as exactly that. So often carers use them in healthcare settings in order to be included in the conversation around medical planning for the person they care for, or actually many use them in conversation with an employer if they want to be recognised as a working carer and request additional support due to the caring role. Previously, we've also had like a discount scheme for carers cards, but it hasn't always been that great. And, you know, we don't really just want carers to be able to walk into a coffee shop and get 20p off the coffee. So we are looking at progressing that scheme moving forward and hoping to be able to work with organisations like National Trust and Bewley in order to be able to get better discounts and a few freebies there. We also offer events and workshops. We hold at least one a month, and they're usually really, really informal. Then they're a mixture of stuff. So we give the carer the opportunity to learn something new at our carers lunches, where we might invite a speaker to talk carers through the more serious stuff like power of attorney. Or they might join us for a first aid workshop, or indulge in some art therapy for their own well-being. We try to keep them really varied, and actually what we find with our events is mostly they are desperate for connection. Being a carer can be quite lonely, and so more often than not they love nothing more than sitting down with a carer who's in a position then, because it's such a unique role, and just being able to talk and find that companionship and share experiences, really. We also offer signposting and information, but this is very much an area of our service that is still yet to be defined, and yeah, definitely a work in progress. But as part of the assessment process, our assessors create a support plan for the carer, which includes signposting to other charities and services. But we know that the goal of this side of the proposition is to work more collaboratively with SBS and Citizens Advice themselves. We're really, really lucky to be under Citizens Advice now. They're so knowledgeable, and they can really, really help carers, but we're just tweaking this aspect of the service, and we know that we can do this much better with SBS and Citizens Advice than doing it alone. We also offer emergency planning for carers. So being prepared for the unexpected is always a good idea as a carer, but sadly many are hesitant about doing it, naturally so. I guess none of us want to think about what would happen should the worst happen, but as a carer it's really, really important to do, because if that carer was to be taken sick or to have an accident, and someone is reliant upon that carer, someone needs to be able to step in and know that they're a carer and what needs to be done. So we have an emergency planning form that we can go through and complete with the carer. It covers things like emergency contacts, the tasks that need to be done, the needs and behaviours of the person that they support, and medication and equipment. And that can be submitted, and we can send that off to adult social care, so they've got a copy of that, or they can actually just keep that within themselves. But emergency planning take up is really, really low, and so this year we're really focusing on how we can get more carers to have some sort of emergency plan, whether it's ours or their own. Also, and mostly, we tend to provide a listening ear. A lot of the time carers just really, really need to have a chat and get stuff off their chest and talk about some of their worries and concerns. So that's a really, really important part of what we do. We're a very small team now. We sadly lost 3 members of almost full-time staff over the last 12 months, and due to costs and cost cuts and budgeting and things, unfortunately they weren't replaced. But there are five of us now, and we're all multitasking. I'm the comms officer and I'm here talking to you guys today, and first to pick up the phone and stuff. So that's what we do. We listen, we provide support when we can, and hopefully make a difference to carers. So that's what the offer is. Some of you may know us from our past life, from, as I said earlier, when we were carers in Southampton and we were under MenCap. So it's definitely been a change for us, but we've got a new name and a new brand and a smaller service that's been streamlined. But you know, we're still very much there for carers, and I think particularly with some of the events that we've got coming up, in understanding that need for community support, we're taking a load of carers to the beach in August. Some of their cared fors are coming along. We're probably going to do a little barbecue. Last week we got together with NASP and did like a choir workshop where a load of carers did some fantastic songs from the musicals, and it was just the best day. Like their faces just lit up. So we're really there for them from a wellbeing perspective as well. That's it, really. That's all I've got for you guys this morning. I hope that was okay.
Thanks, Em. That was really, really good. Excuse me. Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you for presenting, and thank you for updating on the new carer service. So what we tend to do now is just, if anyone has any questions or any comments or anything you'd like to ask Emma, if you could pop your hand up, and we can go around the room and do any questions that might arise. Okay. Michelle's got her hand up and Keita back. I'll go to Keita first and then Michelle.
Yeah, thank you. That was really interesting. It was just a question, and I don't know if I missed this, but does the person have to reside in Southampton to be the carer, or the person receiving care? Or because quite often you'll get carers that cross boundaries, and I'm just wondering at what point we'd say
Yeah.
this isn't, you're not eligible.
No, that is a really, really good question. And let me have a think, because it's Joe. You can help me out with this because I know you know the answer. So because it's two, isn't it? So we serve carers who live within certain boundaries of postcodes, but we can only assess those who live in a slightly smaller one. That's right, isn't it?
So the assessment is based on, this is like going back to my old job. So the assessment is based on where the cared for person lives. So Southampton Carers covers SOs 14 to 19, which is the Southampton city boundary. But the carer could live in a place far away. And because their cared for person lives in Southampton, they would be the carers and unpaid carers support Southampton would do the carers assessment on the person, even though they lived in like Bournemouth or Manchester, I don't know, because their cared for lives within Southampton.
So would that be the same for the carer's card? So if they wanted to take them to something in Southampton because the cared for person lived in Southampton, but they lived outside Southampton, could they still get a carer's card, which would mean that they'd be able to support the cared for person in that region?
Have you changed anything on that, Em?
No. I mean, my answer would be yes, because if they're coming to Southampton and they are taking that person to appointments, you know, within the NHS, within the hospital, and they need to present that. So yeah, we would always do our best to provide a carer's card and support them any way that we can. It's just purely the assessment perspective. They would have to contact their own local authority in order to have that assessment.
Brilliant. Thank you. That's really helpful.
Cool. Thank you. Michelle.
Hello, everyone. I'm the new social prescriber at Southampton West PCN. So literally, this is my first meeting. So hello to everybody. And thank you, Emma. That was really, really interesting. I just wanted to ask a question, your contact details. Where will I get the information from to be able to recommend your services to?
Yeah, so you can go onto our website, which is actually a slide that I should have included at the end about how best to contact us. So I'm sorry that wasn't included. It was something that I quickly threw together last night. Yeah, so you can go onto our website, which is unpaidcarersupport.org.uk, and you can either send that link to the person who you think is a carer who you would like to introduce to our service, or if they agree, you can, if they're in front of you, you can refer them yourself by going to the For Professionals tab on our page and submit a referral. You will need some of their information. You'd need consent to say that they've said that you can refer them to us, and we will contact them and do the rest. But anyone can go onto the For Professionals tab and refer a carer to us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome to the group, Michelle. Thank you for coming. I think there's one more hand I can see. Where is it? Where's the other hand? Debbie Hendry.
Oops. Hiya, morning. You okay?
Hi, Deb.
Hiya. Just a quick question about the Lions bottles. Are you still doing the emergency care tubs at carers? Because
Yeah, we
I've got
do.
some with me. Yeah, you do. Brilliant. Because I've got some with me to take to my dementia friend sessions, and I wondered if we could still use those. That was all.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, for those that don't know, the Lions tubs are they're the message in the bottle. They're like the message in the bottle things, right? Where people have some sort of emergency provision put in place. They keep it in their fridge and they put a sticker in their window. So should something happen to them when they're in their homes, and emergency services were to go to the door, they would see the sticker and know that they had a tub in their fridge and would go and get it and see what needed to be done. They're great. We absolutely hand those out at our events. They're very, very useful. Unfortunately, they're not very helpful if something was to happen outside of the home setting, but we still do those and we still promote those, and they are absolutely better than nothing, and we encourage everyone to have fun.
Thank you.
Thanks, Em. Just to bolt onto Em's answer as well, we've also got a load of Lions tubs at SVS as well. So if anyone wants one, we have plenty. And I also have a load of PPE as well sat behind me. So if anyone would like some PPE, I'm really happy to distribute it out, that people can use it to pass on to a carer who might be supporting someone. Yeah, cool.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emma. Does anyone have any further questions? There's one more, Em. You're not off. Elizabeth.
I just had a sneaky peek at your website and the future planning and the ICE thing that you've got going on. For certain parts of the population, they're not savvy on sort of setting those things up. Do you have someone that you can wheel out to give sessions if you have a coffee morning to set it up on their phones?
Yeah, we would be more than happy to help with that. That's no problem. As I say, we have various. Last week we had like a carers drop in where carers just came for a chat and a piece of cake, and that's the type of environment where we would help them with something like that. Yeah. So yeah, once a month there'll always be an opportunity for a face-to-face meet with someone from our service, and we can help them with things like that.
Cool. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Emma. Brilliant.
Thank you.
Wonderful presentation. Thank you so much for coming. Emma from the Carer Service, and can you send me those slides and I'll send them around afterwards so that people got copy them in there.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Brilliant. We're doing pretty good for time, and I can see that Maria is here to talk about community roots. So I'll pass straight over to you, Maria.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me. I've come along to talk to you about community roots. Some of you might know something about it. Basically, it's a project run by Southampton Voluntary Services. It's an allotment project, so it's based on a plot in the Sandhurst Road area of the Polygon in Southampton. It's a great little place. It's very calm. It's very peaceful. Not many people actually know it's there. And we've been running a project there since, I think it's the early 2000s. It started off as a street homeless project. And then over the years, it's kind of evolved depending on where we're getting funding from, etc. But the basic ethos of the project has been to support people who've experienced homelessness, mental health problems and addictions, and to help them on their kind of road to recovery through green therapy. So through the therapy of gardening, being in a calm, peaceful, safe place in the open air with other people who maybe have had similar experiences. So for the past year, since we kind of recovered from the lockdowns, we had a 2-year kind of gap because of lockdowns. But started up again in April last year, and for the past year I've been working exclusively with CGL, Change, Grow, Live, the local drug and alcohol service. And they've been funding a session a week, 2 sessions, but it's just gone back down because of staffing problems on their side, to a session a week for their clients. And the session consists of about 2.5 to 3 hours on a Wednesday morning at the moment. It's a great little group. People love it. People love coming there. They say that they regard it as a kind of an oasis in their sort of sometimes chaotic and quite troubled lives. And you can really see people progressing as they go through, as they learn about plants, as they learn about growing things, as they take home vegetables that they've grown to cook at home. You can really see some people blossom. So the reason I've come here today is we've got space to start up a new group, and I'm actually moving on the 1st of September, but I'm trying to kind of get some interest generated before I move, before the next person takes over. So we've got space to start up a new group. Again, it would probably be a morning group, 2.5 to 3 hours on a weekday morning, run by Southampton Voluntary Services. And what I'm trying to focus on is people, local people who have mild to moderate mental health conditions. So, for example, depression, anxiety. Some people may be recovering from addictions. Some people may be socially isolated. So basically, it's people who don't kind of meet the threshold for secondary services. So the sort of people you might come across in the surgeries. So I'm hoping to start up a group for them, for people, with these conditions. So really it's a case of kind of just telling you about it, and hopefully you might have the opportunity to kind of signpost those people to the plot, to the project. Yeah, I've got some information which I can send to Joe to. I think you have a newsletter, don't you? I've got some information that I can send to Joe to put in your newsletter, just to give you a little bit more information about it. Just to say as well, the project isn't just about gardening. I mean, a lot of people who come there come for it's the social aspect as well as the actual gardening aspect. So we do continue throughout the winter. We've actually got 2 polytunnels. We're very lucky to have 2 polytunnels, which means that even when the weather's bad, people can do some potting up. They can do activities in one of the polytunnels, sit and drink tea and coffee, chat to each other and keep the social aspect going. And we also do have other activities. I mean, one year we had some people from an art group come down and do some art therapy in the polytunnel during the winter. Things like that. We have outings, we do various things. So we do kind of try and keep the thing going throughout the year. It's not just a good weather project. Any questions?
Thanks, Maria. Thank you for coming by to tell us about the project. I can see we have a hand up from Alison Fisher.
Hello, Maria, I oversee all the day centres in the city, and I was wondering if maybe off screen that we could have a conversation about maybe looking at something that we can do together.
Yeah, what sort of day centres, Alison?
For the over 60s.
Yeah, we could talk about that. Can I just to say one thing I will flag up is that the plot, one thing people do need to know is for anybody, not just for the over 60s, right? I'm over 60, so I'm not discriminating. The plot is on uneven ground. It's on quite sloping ground. So just from practical considerations, it's quite sloping. The pathways are quite narrow, and it's an allotment. There's quite a lot of trip hazards.
Yeah, that's fine. We do have a number of people that could potentially be able to come along anyway. So there's room. There's room. We don't just, it's a mixture of people that we support. So it'd be good to catch up.
Yeah, so people just kind of you just need to be aware of that. And one big drawback, especially for women, there are no loos on the site.
Oh.
Yes.
But that's fine, because my colleague Judy, who's on the call, they manage Padwell, so they're not that far away from the polygon, and also I've got Fremantle Community Centre just up the road here, so there's loos for us, you know, close by. So
Brilliant.
if I could come and I'm sure Judy will want to come along as well, but if we could come and have a look at the plot, and maybe we can make a plan between us.
Yes,
Great.
very much so.
That'd be great. I've actually, after this, I've actually got to, we as I said, we actually run a group on a Wednesday morning. I've got to dash off to that, but shall I give you my number and you can contact me?
Yeah,
Maria,
yeah.
Are you happy for me? I'll pass your details out, because I do like a round robin email afterwards.
Okay,
so
yeah.
if you're happy, I'll pop your details in there, and then we can go that way.
Give people my number, not my work number, because my work mobile is rubbish. So I do tend to give out my own number to people, but that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're on video saying that, so when you get 50 phone calls, this is recorded. I'm in the clear.
It's fine. Honestly, I give out my number. I just give it out. I just can't be bothered messing about with a phone that doesn't work properly.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, Alice and Judy. Yeah, get in touch.
Brilliant. Thank you. Any other questions? No? Cool. It seems like a nice day for it, Maria. So have a nice, little bit overcast, but not too bad.
But it is a good day for it.
Yeah, a bit of a cool breeze in the air as well. So it's really good. Maria, thank you so much for coming by. We will catch up later, and thank you very much for speaking to the group today. You're a star.
Okay.
Thank you.
Nice
have a
to
good day.
You. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye. Just on that, Emma, are you happy for me to pass out your details, or some details for carers as well, and things when I send that email? Cool.
Yes, please do.
Lovely stuff. Brilliant. Is Dan Strickland in the room? I believe he is.
Hello. Yeah.
Hello.
I'm here.
I can hear you, but I can't see you. Oh, there you are.
Just turning everything on. There we go.
Hey, there we go. Brilliant. Dan, I'll pass over to you, and you can tell us a little bit about the zone and the work you guys do.
Cool. Thank you very much. So, yeah, I'm Dan. I'm one of the senior employment officers at the council's employment support team. So some of you might have heard of us before as City Limits Employment. We've kind of evolved into the employment support team, and we support people into employment, education, training, volunteering, all that kind of stuff. So I have got a short presentation to share, if that's okay, which I'm hoping is gonna work.
There we go. We're in business. Brilliant.
Cool. I can't see anyone now, so if anyone puts a hand up or anything, just shout out any questions. I've also got my colleague Nadine here with me today. She's one of the employment officers that works on the project that I'm going to talk about today. So we work with a lot of people. Primarily what I'm going to talk about today is our support for people with learning disabilities and autism. So we have been part of the council for over 30 years, previously City Limits. We support around 800 individuals at any one time, and the way that we do that is by providing person-centred one-to-one support. We provide impartial information, advice and guidance, strengths-based approach, all of those kind of positive, proactive buzzwords, but it's all really at the heart of what we do is the people that we're supporting. So we don't kind of go for the easy wins or the low-hanging fruit. We'll go for whatever someone wants to achieve, and if those goals are maybe a little bit ambitious, we might look at managing expectations and seeing what is it about those goals that they like and how can we put that into something that's more suitable for that client. But we take each approach on that one-to-one basis, so no journey ever looks the same. So the project that I am currently managing is called Local Supported Employment, and it uses the model of supported employment. So it's kind of broken down into 5 stages. We have that initial client engagement. So our employment officers spend an awful lot of time getting to know the individual. They get to know their strengths, what kind of work they're looking for, the people that are in their networks of support, and using all of that information, putting a plan together, an action plan, vocational profiling. So actually looking at some steps, some meaningful steps to get someone to where they want to be. And that could be quite light touch, maybe updating a CV, doing some interview prep, but it could also be really in-depth support. So that's where we come into things like employer engagement. So linking in with potential employers, selling that client and their skills, potentially some job carving. So looking at a job description overall, picking out the bits that a client would be really good at, and supporting an employer to almost put together a bespoke job that they're going to get a really good candidate for. So that's where the employer stuff comes in. So we understand what the employer needs as well, getting to know the job so that we can support the client to do that job. When a client moves into work, we've already done all of that prep work, the pre-employment skills building, so they're ready to hit the ground running basically. But there might be a few little snags, so we can come in and work alongside our clients, so helping them to learn the job. If there's a few little teething problems, making sure that they're able to do that, and then once they're in work and they're settled, it's not just a case of, okay, see you later then. We will continue to be there and support them and their employer. So the client might get in touch with us, the employer might get in touch with us, something might have changed, there might be a little issue that's come up, and we can come in. So we make sure that person not only moves into work, but they remain in work. And then we might start looking at career development as well, so if someone wants to progress within the company. So it's a really well established model, and it's something that we find works really well with all of the clients that we support with. So it's nice to have a project that's fully dedicated to it. I'm also very excited because we've literally just this week had our marketing materials finalised, so we'll actually have some cool stuff that Joe can send round to everyone, if that's okay. But essentially, for local supported employment, people need to be 18 and over, have a learning disability and or autism. It doesn't need to have a formal diagnosis. It can be if a client perceives them to have a learning disability or autism. And they either need to be claiming benefits or economically inactive, so not claiming benefits and not in employment. And they have to be known to Southampton City Council, which sometimes is a sticking point, but if they're not already known to one of our services, that could be homelessness, it could be adult social care, any team in the council. If they're not known to us, then just sending me an email will mean that they're known to the employment support team. So that's how we get around that one. The other project that we have is the Learning Disability Employment Service. So that is, again, very similar approach, but it's a little bit broader in what we look at, where local supported employment is around solely focused around work and employment. That might include volunteering, work experience, work placements along the way, but the goal there primarily is employment. And we know that that's not necessarily what everybody will want to do. Some people will just want to engage in some sort of meaningful activity, volunteering, attending social groups, some training, education, all of that kind of stuff. So the Learning Disability Employment Service will focus on those areas a little bit broader on that. So that's age 16 plus and known to the council's adult social care teams, and they don't have to be in receipt of any benefits. So a very similar approach, but there's other things that we can look at with those individuals too. We also are doing some work around supported internships for people with education, health and care plans. So it's essentially raising awareness of supported internships, making sure that employers and individuals are aware that that's a valid education pathway for them, exactly the same way as a college course or university might be. Supported internship can be a really good option too. So we do have a supported internship forum, which runs every half term. And it's just a way for everyone to get together and see what's going on with the world of supported internships, share any feedback and help to really work together on making sure that supported internships can be a really viable pathway for people. So if anybody here would like to join that, please do feel free. It's great to have as many people from as many different backgrounds as possible. So it's just a little aside there and something else that we're running. We're very keen to say there's a lot of different ways that we're funded, which means there's lots of different eligibility criteria. So what we say is just get in touch with us. If you've got someone who you think might need some support, don't worry which box they might tick or which eligibility criteria they might or might not meet. Just send us the details and we can figure all of that out. And the main thing for us is that people are getting support, so we can take care of all of that. And I'll send my contact details round via Joe as well. If anyone wants to just have a chat with me on an individual basis about a particular case, I'm more than happy to do that as well. And what we also have in the rare cases that people don't meet any of our service criteria, we do have some open access work clubs in Bitton and Central Libraries. So again, I'll share details of that too, but that's just somewhere that every week someone can come along and they can get that support. Not necessarily intensive one-to-one, but at least someone's there to give them some advice. There's IT facilities they can use and just a little bit of extra support with some job searching and interview prep. So we do try and help everyone where possible. So yeah, very whistle stop tour. Nadine, is there anything that you wanted to add on that?
Hi Dan, no, I think you covered everything.
Awesome, cool, that's great. I sometimes forget really important things, so it's cool. So yeah, has anyone got any questions around that while I'm here?
Cool. Joe Frost.
Just a quick one. Solent get into employment.
Yes.
Have you taken over from that then, or is that separate?
So yes, Solent get into employment. My line manager Mandy runs that.
Yeah.
So that has stopped taking referrals. That delivery's ending in September on that. So this is the replacement, the next project on from that.
Well, I will remove the poster for that then. Have you got posters and things that you can send out to us?
I do, yeah. I've got some digital versions and I'm hoping to have some printed flyers at some point this week, so I can send them out anywhere that wants them.
Yeah. Shall I, when Joe sends the stuff around, if I email you for some to be sent out, that'd be really helpful.
Yeah, no problem.
Fab. Thanks, Dan.
Cool, no worries.
Thanks, Joe. Elizabeth. I can't see you, Elizabeth. I think you're still on mute.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, can you explain what an supported internship is? I understand the concept of internship, but where's the support?
Yeah, so in short, a supported internship is it's a college course for people with an education, health and care plan. So it can be from 16 to 25, and it focuses on employability and the world of work. So essentially getting people ready to take that transition from college or education into employment. And part of that supported internship will consist of a work placement with an employer, and a lot of the work that we're doing is making sure that these are really meaningful work placements. They're as close to what the individual wants as possible, and as part of that, where the support comes into it, is every individual will have a dedicated job coach. So that job coach will come and do working alongside them. They'll support with any reasonable adjustments, things like that, and just make sure that that individual's got all the support needed to thrive. And eventually that support will in some cases be able to be phased out so that the individual's able to thrive on their own, but there is always someone there as that kind of go-between for the employer as well. So it's a really cool, I didn't know a huge amount about them either until I started doing the internships project, but it is a really great thing. We had an individual in our team as well who we had someone on placement that was a supported intern, and it was just brilliant to see the development over such a short period of time, actually just being in the workplace and having that support to be able to develop those skills. So it's really nice thing to offer.
Is that similar to what the Prince's Trust offer as well?
Yeah, it's similar. So Prince's Trust would be probably more short term, and they don't need a education, health and care plan for that. But the supported internships tend to be sort of following the academic year, so very long, very in depth.
Cool, thank you.
I think Nadine might have something to add on that.
Yeah, I think Nadine's got something to add.
Yeah, I think you sort of covered it, Dan, but I think the crucial thing about the internships is it's split between them doing their sort of education and a work placement. So young people are doing 2 to 3 days work a week, and then the rest of the week is doing employability or maths and English. So yeah, I'm not sure if how clear that was. So I just thought I'd add that, because that's a big part of the actual sort of work placement, is working 2 or 3 days a week.
So it's making them more employable and also giving them the confidence. So yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ooh, cool. Okay. I think that's everyone. Does any further questions for Dan or Nadine? Cool. What I would say as well, I get, I'm sure other people in this group do as well, but if you don't, I get an email called The Zone that Dan's team send around, which has got all the kind of job and training and internship opportunities sent around. It's a brilliant email. It's a fantastic resource. Dan, would you be able to send sort of joining instructions for that so people can sign up to it, because it is really good?
Yeah, definitely. It's not a fancy mailing list. It's just send me an email and I'll get your name added to it.
Cool. Thanks, Dan. It's a really good email. Joe, did you have another question, or was that an accidental hand?
That was me leaning on the keyboard.
It was a leaning on the keyboard hand.
Yeah. Sorry.
That is a new one. Some people call them legacy hands, which surely all hands are legacy because they've been there for a while. Cool, brilliant. Dan, thank you very much for coming, and send us your lovely new resources. We'll send them around the group. I'm going to move on to Janet Ayling, who is going to tell us about Project Fusion, which I'm sure we've all heard about and would be keen to hear more.
Hello there, thank you for having me. Right, let me share my screen, and whilst I'm doing that, I need to strongly stress the fact that I'm not the official spokesperson for this. Joe came to one of our engagement sessions a couple of weeks back and felt it would be a really good idea to just share some of the information about Fusion from a Solent NHS perspective. I'm very happy to do that, but yeah, I have to just stress I'm not part of the overall Fusion team. I work in community engagement, and I can see Keita on the call there from the ICB, so she may even have more information than I do, so feel free to kind of dip into Keita if you have answers to things that I don't have. Right, can you see my screen? Is that coming up? Brilliant,
yep,
lovely, thank you very much. So yes, my name is Janet Ayling. I am a community engagement facilitator for Solent NHS. So that means that I spend a lot of time going out and talking to community groups, trying to kind of support them in doing all the great work that they do, some of which I'm hearing this morning. So I'm already writing down notes and thinking, oh, I need to link up with that person. So expect some emails from me. And I also, one of the big things that I do within that role is to try and gain feedback as much as possible from all the different groups that I talk to, take that back to our trust, and then really to run improvement projects and make as many good updates and changes and improvements to our services as we can. So that's where I'm coming from, and I can give you an update today in terms of how we're feeding into Fusion from the community engagement perspective. Again, I think Emma sort of started with this, but I want to also say I'm really sorry if I'm telling you things that you're already very up to date with or you already know. So just ignore me if it's something that you already have far more information on. But Project Fusion essentially is the working title for the bringing together of all of our community mental health and learning disability services across the whole of Hampshire and the Isle of Wight. I could hear some information earlier about talking about postcodes and what services are available where. This is the whole point of this project, is to try and bring all of that together so that there are services that cover the whole of that area, which should make things far more supportive for patients, better experiences, a smoother experience without that kind of postcode lottery that we have been seeing. It should be more sustainable, and it should mean that our services are better. So that's the whole reason of doing it. That's why it's come about. So this all started with a independent review, which the ICB commissioned, which took place in January last year, I think. And the upshot of that is there was a whole report that came out of this, and there are some recommendations. So moving on. The main recommendation, and the first one, which is probably the most important before they move on to the other ones, is it has been recommended that we create one community and mental health trust for Hampshire and Isle of Wight, and that is due to go live on the 1st of April next year. So there are 4 different trusts that feed into that, one being the Isle of Wight NHS Trust, but just the community and mental health parts and not the acute services that they have over there. Solent NHS Trust, which is my trust. And again, we are solely community and mental health services, so we don't have any acute services within our trust, but we do have 7 different service lines ranging from adult mental health, child and family, sexual health services, and we do have the primary care service as well, with some surgeries, and then we have podiatry and MSK and pain as well. Southern Health, the whole of that foundation trust would be coming into this, and the CAMS element of Sussex Partnership. Again, probably information that you already know. And the whole point is to bring that together as one community and mental health trust. Okay. So I can give you an update in terms of what Solent have been doing and what I'm hearing and what we know. So from my point of view, the next big sort of stage of this, obviously all those trusts are meeting at a regular level, at regular meetings, but the big milestone that's just kind of happening right now is that the chair, the board and the non-executive directors are being appointed. So that has started to happen. The chair has now been named, which is going to be Lynn Hunt, who's the chair for the new trust. She is the current Southern Health chair. Vice chair is going to be Mike Watts, I think it is, who is our current Solent chair. And just last week, it's now been identified that Ron Shields has been appointed as the new CEO for the new trust, and he is the current CEO of Southern. So they're starting to put some of those key figures into place. I think some of the non-executive director appointments have now been done. There's perhaps some more of those to come. But now that those key figures are in place, as you can imagine, the rest of that board will start to line up now. And they are recruiting and going through that process as we speak. The idea being that will all be in place by the end of September. So we should know what that new board looks like. And then from there, they will be looking at the clinical structure next, and then the corporate structure after that, to make sure that we've got everything lined up to go live from the 1st of April, which I'm sure you will agree is an ambitious target, but we will get there. I don't think everything will be in place on day one, but we'll certainly have those key figures in place and know what we're doing. From a Solent perspective, the clinical delivery groups is the area where we've been doing most of our work. So we've split ourselves into 10 key clinical delivery groups, primary care being one of them. And the community engagement team are working very closely with each of those groups to try and identify some of the gaps really in terms of engagement. So what do they need to know about primary care in terms of, what things are missing? What do they not know about what their primary care group need for their services, and where do they need to fill in some of those questions and answers so that they can build that service with the community in it as well. So we're working very closely, gaining feedback in lots of those areas and trying to feed all that back up to our board so that they know that we don't miss anything, basically. So lots of clinical delivery work. The community focus from Solent is our kind of, I would say we're driving a huge part of that. In the last kind of financial year, we talked to over 5,000 people in the community, a lot of that around ICB delivery and strategy, and now looking at fusion and making sure that we get some of those improvement ideas back up through the chain so that all goes into it. So we will continue to do that. As I said, I met Joe earlier this month, just doing an engagement session for Fusion, talking about the values and mission of what the new organisation is going to look at. So what's the essence of that new trust? What's it going to be all about? So we will continue to do that. If you do have needs for that and you wanted us to do that with you, if you've got lots of feedback for us and you wanted to talk to us, we'd be more than happy to come and speak to any of you guys as well. So that's what Solent are doing from the community engagement perspective. And I know across the trust, we're now at the stage where we're looking at sort of policy reviews to see how our policies line up, working very closely with Southern Health, and we're looking at integration of those teams. So what's that new team going to look like across the board for all of our different individual teams? We've done lots of due diligence work, and there is now a full business plan being put together, which will be presented to NHS England, which will have the full, plan for how we go forward with this. But yeah, it's all moving. There are still lots to do, but I think having those key personnel in place now things will start to happen far more. So from our perspective, we're excited. Further information. So if I've told you stuff that you already know, I'm sorry. If it's stuff you're hearing for the first time and you want to know more, the full kind of review document itself can be found on the ICB website. So you're more than welcome to read that and find out more information if you need to. There is also each of those local NHS trusts, obviously, which I've mentioned, the 4. They all have their own stories, regular updates on their websites. So if you wanted more information and you want to keep up to date with Fusion, definitely go to those websites. And I also need to mention that Solent have got a really good FAQ section on our website. So if they've got particular questions, which may be more sort of clinical based, that's a really good place to start because there's lots of information on there which might answer some of your questions. Again, Joe, I'm sure will share this at the end, so you're more than welcome to have that information. And project@fusion.hiow.nhs.uk is an email that's been set up by the Fusion team for questions and feedback. So again, if there's things you particularly want to get in touch with, that's the place to do it. But really, I wanted to use this session, yes, as a quick update to you in terms of what's happening from our point of view, but also to perhaps gain a bit of feedback on how you're feeling about all of this. It is a big piece of work to do, and it's really key that we use the community engagement element to kind of shape what this looks like together. So please tell us what you need, what's most important to you in your role as social prescribers. Have you got concerns? Have you got things at the back of your mind where you're thinking this just isn't going to work for me? Or have you got some really great ideas that you still want to feed in? There's still time to do that. So I just wanted to kind of open the floor up really to give you a chance to give me your feedback on it, and obviously take any questions if there's anything that you wanted to ask me.
Thank you, Janet. And yeah, just to echo the session I went to talk that you facilitated to talk about Project Fusion was incredibly useful. A really good opportunity to feedback. And so you're not the official spokesperson, but
No.
thank you very much for the update. It really worked. Does anyone have any questions for Janet? Can't see any hands up.
That's fine.
Okay.
But is there any feedback in terms of against your role and how this will affect you? How do you feel about it in your role? Is there anything you want me to take back to feedback to the team? Are there any concerns or opportunities that you can see? Yes, my email address is on the slide, so I'll give you that towards the end if that's all right.
Dawn, did you want to ask a question as well? Dawn.
I'm yabbling on and I'm mute. Hello, Janet. I'll start again.
Oh yeah.
I expect Joe wishes I was on mute. But I was with Chris and myself. Chris is on here as well. We work for the Alzheimer's Society. We were just wondering, sort of like, what is happening and what support and about people living with dementia and their carers in Fusion. Yeah. What line is going?
So there's already within Solent NHS, we have obviously equality, diversity, inclusion and belonging, and we have an accessible information. We have lots of aspects within community engagement that will cover the dementia part. One of the key, I'm just going to have a look on here. One of the key priority work streams is probably on here. So it will fit within one of these areas. I'm not sure where because I'm not clinical, but can you see where dementia would fit under one of these?
OPMH, that is where we get our main referrals from.
Yeah, okay.
So is that's their main route for support with people living with dementia and their carers. What happens, just say that that was not there, or it got shortened, you know, less time or whatever, what would happen then with the referrals?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I don't think it's because I'm not clinical and I haven't seen how that clinical structure is going to work. I'm fishing out of the sky really for that one, but I can certainly take that back for you.
Yes,
so
please.
Really, what's going to be the main route? Is it going to stay the same? So what do you currently do? What happens at the moment?
The OPMH, usually it goes to the GP sends it to OPMH. OPMH will literally close the case down and refer over to us, and then we support the person, the carer, or the whole family.
Yeah, okay. So what I've heard in terms of how this is going to run is that the way that local services are delivered is not likely to change. So that the fact that it's a local, you know, it's a different postal areas will still act in the same way. It's the fact that they will be joined up in a better way, so that if they have to talk to another service that's somewhere else or in a different part of the country, a different part of Hampshire, that will be more streamlined. So
Right.
I think at the moment you probably shouldn't expect that everything's going to suddenly change from the 1st of April. But I can't promise that once all of those 4 entities come together that there may be some slight changes in the way that their policies run. I don't know yet, but I can certainly take that back in terms of what's going to be the preferred route for dementia for you. That's fine. I can come back to you on that.
Lovely, thank you.
No problem. What was your last name, Dorney? At Arundel?
Yeah.
Cheers, Dorney. Thank you. Janet, just a quick one from me. The session that I went to, are there going to be any more?
I don't think so. So they're getting quite close now to a name for the organisation, which is another quick question I want to ask at the end of this. In fact, I can go on to that now if that would be, it may as well make sense. So we held 2 sessions which our communications team asked us to do, all around the title of the organisation, the mission, and what would the values be. Because as you can imagine, we've got 4 quite different trusts at the moment who run in slightly different ways. How are we going to bring that together so that it means the same for everybody? So we did have 2 sessions that I think they've moved past that. They have taken the feedback from that. And if I share this, again, I have to stress this is not set in stone. This is not signed off. This is one of the favourites that Solent are saying has been put forward. And really, it was a case of getting your feedback on this as well. So this is the name that they think the new trust may be. There are still some other favourites as well. What do you think about this?
I think it does what it says on the tin. Covers off the different areas that's being covered, and Nadine's got her hand up. Actually, I think, is that a mistake?
You can be completely honest. It's not
there's a couple of thumbs up coming through as well.
You think it's a thumbs up?
A couple of thumbs up which is coming through. Sorry, Nadine, did you have a hand up, or was it?
No, I was meant to do the react and done the hand raise. So.
Okay. Yeah,
okay,
I think we could.
Thumbs up there.
We could probably agree it does what it says. It's been quite. Oh, great, Debbie. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that you went to one as well. I think some of the feedback we've had is it's quite boring. It doesn't, but actually we are talking about it has to have the location in there. It has to have foundation and trust. So we're a little bit limited. But nobody's got any immediate, I hate it. I couldn't possibly live with that name. There's nothing there in general. You could live with that. Is that what I'm kind of hearing? Okay. I see some nods.
Janet, my dear, just slightly running over. I'm just going to be slightly running over time. Did anyone have any further questions or any further comments? Are you happy for me to pass your details on when I send the Esther says, waste no more time thinking about it. That's the one.
Great. Okay.
So yeah, if you're happy, I'll pass on your details if people want to kind of get interest, and also to kind of link with your team in general as well. That's
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, always happy. Thank you very much. Yeah, my details are there at the end. So yeah, if you need to contact me or you wanted to have more information on anything, then I will go back to Dorney on that question as well. Thank you very much for letting me speak.
Amazing, Janet. Thank you so much for coming on. That was wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing that information with us. I'm going to move on to Esther. who's from the going to tell us a bit more about their role.
Hello. So thank you for sticking with it until 11 o'clock. I've been waiting very patiently. My name's Esther. I'm from the National Academy for Social Prescribing, and I'm here to just talk to you a tiny bit about my role, but also to present something that I think that some of you may want to be part of. So if you don't mind, if I got permission to share my screen, because I've got some information just to give you about. So one of the things that one of my jobs is to support the voluntary and community sector to sort of engage with social prescribing. But that's what we've sort of first taken on to do. It seems to be that our role is segued, and we're obviously coming to talk to, doing much more with link workers, much more with the new ICBs to look at the sort of the system of social prescribing as well. And I wanted to come and talk to you today about a really important project that I've been working on called the Social Prescribing Link Worker Host Map. So I think I'm just trying to share my screen there. And I'd like, give me a thumbs up if you can see it, Joe.
It's all there, it's good, all there.
Lovely. So I'm going to do that from the beginning. Here we go, I've made it nice and big. So one of the things that the National Academy for Social Prescribing wanted to do was to think about, that nobody had a complete list of where social prescribing link workers were and what that kind of looked like. So I went to the NHS to say, I've been asked to do this, and I do understand that, lots and lots of the social prescribers are employed by the NHS. So let's work together on this map. So I've provided the technology, but I've been working with social prescribing link worker leads, social prescribing leads across the southeast, because I cover Kent, Surrey, Sussex, Bucks, Berks, Hampshire, and the Isle of Wight. So I've got a whole sort of southeast system to work with. And we came up with some questions and answers. So this map, we think the audience will be those health and social care professionals who want to contact a social prescriber or want to at least understand, what support that their patient in their care might be able to get when they get back to their community. They've got a team of link workers. So you might want to find out about information that's happening in the area. So you might want to receive information about so-and-so group has changed from this day to that day, etc. You might have a social prescribing, you might be working with somebody delivering social prescribing, and then actually they're up in sticks and moving to another area, but you don't want to just, they're making really great progress. You don't want that to all just fall apart because they've gone to somewhere new. So you actually can do that warm handover to social prescribers in another area, as long as they're in the southeast. My colleagues in the southwest and in the Midlands have also got a map, so you can, some places, and London's got a map, so some places you can do it too. The VCSE can let you know about things that are new, for example, and I think it'll also be really useful for system leaders to have that overview of social prescribing, because at the moment it seems very amorphous because it's delivered in this sort of patchwork of ways by different organisations in different places. So actually being able to have an overview is probably really useful, but we'll see about that. That's not quite why I did it. I did it so that you are more connected within your communities, really, and that you can get the information that you need and from others and pass on to others. So the mapping project, this is the one, this is my NHS slide that we've been working together. It's just that kind of, this is how we did it. We discussed what information should go on there, etc. But so really it's very basic information is required. So it's like the name of the social prescribing service provider, a generic email address if possible, so that your information won't go out of date just because somebody's moved job. So it's that, really trying to make sure this stays relevant for a while, as long as possible. Physical address, description of the social prescribing service, and the eligibility. And of course, that's key, because we don't want you receiving people, asking for a referral if they aren't eligible for one. So that's a really a useful bit of information on here to make sure that people can refer if they want to. The social prescribing service also will ask, do the patients have to be registered with a specific primary care network or GP surgery? So once again, that's really making sure that you only get the people that can be referred. Sometimes it's no, that sometimes there's a social prescribing sort of service that might be a wellbeing service, for example, that runs across a whole area, and then they'll put in that geographical area. Sometimes it's both. Some organisations are kind of contracted to work with PCNs and within an area, and so they'll have to make that clear on their input. There's a nice question. What can you expect from the social prescribing service? I have made up some information there that you can kind of adapt to the truth of your service, or you can cut and paste if that works. And then, does the service offer proactive social prescribing? So this is the proactive social prescribing is aimed at the health inequalities in your local area. So usually you'll have a health inequalities lead, and they'll be thinking about targeting specific groups within your cohort, within your area, using like population health management or sort of feedback from people where services are being overrun. So actually it may be that you focus on one of these, one or two of these groups where you're actively, using the SNOMED codes to find the carers, to find the people with diabetes and another long-term health condition, and then offering them social prescribing service. So you can, sorry, just to go back for a sec, just let you know that sometimes people aren't doing that already, and so it says not at present. So not at present is an option, so you don't have to be doing that. And the last question is it for adults or children? And so sometimes it's one or the other, and sometimes it's both. And there's the option to add more information, like a referral form, a leaflet, information about peer support sessions your organisation might be running, etc. And well, so this is what the map looks like, but this is what the map used to look like. I'm going to come out of that for a second, and I'd like to share. So I'm going to do a really Blue Peter thing, which is, and here's one we made earlier, because there is a Southampton service on there already. So I want to show you my map with a real life bullet point on there. Oh, hold on, I've gone to the wrong thing. Here we go. Right, sorry, do apologise. Flicking about a bit there.
This is your Tracy Island moment.
Patience, here we go. It's me that needs to be patient. I'm sure you lot are. Thank you. So the social prescribing map looks like this. We ask
I think Esther may have frozen. Esther, can you hear us? I think she may have frozen mid-presentation from live TV. Okay, cool. We'll see if Esther comes back in the next couple of seconds, but in the interim period, if we should pause for a break there for the moment, and then we'll see if she comes back, and then because I don't know if she's going to come back in immediately. Did anyone have any comments, actually, rather than go for a break? Did anyone have any comments so far about what they've heard that we can feed back to Esther or any of the speakers we've heard so far today? No? Okay, I think she has well and truly gone because it stopped sharing. Okay, I was going to call a break after Esther's is talking anyway, so let's call a quick. It's 12 minutes past, so if we come back about 15 minutes past, 16 minutes past, then we'll reconvene. If Esther's able to log back on, we'll see the end of her presentation, but if not, we'll do some catch up and networking. So let's pause there, and I will stop recording, and we'll see you back here in a couple of minutes time.